Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. And we're going to talk some NBA All-Star game. And I was just about to say, I don't even know what to make of that, what I saw last night, but I actually do know exactly what to make of it. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But before we do, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, make sure you open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, please make sure you give us that like, give us that 5-star review, and drop a comment. We love those. Also, make sure you're sharing the podcast, whether it's the audio version or the YouTube version. This weekend, it looks like hopefully Saturday. But if you haven't already, check the community post I put up on YouTube here, and let me know which day, Saturday or Sunday, is a better day for you that you would like to do the live call-in show, because tentatively it looks like this weekend is going to be the first time we do that. I'm really looking forward to it, really looking forward to giving you guys the opportunity to talk with me, call in the show, and really take it to the next level, as I've been saying. So make sure you do that. Make sure you let me know. And let's get right to it. So last night was the NBA All-Star game, and let me start here. So if you watch the show, you know me a little bit by now. You know kind of where my leanings are on sports. I've talked about it, and for me, because I'm 45 years old, my favorite time in the time that I've been watching the NBA was probably early to mid 1990s up until the mid first decade of the 2000s, like about 2006. Then I started seeing things kind of really start shifting and changing, and now things are going to shift and change, and that's just part of life, right? Over time, things are going to shift and things are going to change, but I saw it as the NBA product shifting and changing for the worse. And we know, we've talked about it ad nauseum, all the rules changes and freedom of movement and all that good stuff, and trying to negate defense in every way possible. And then, of course, you know, the switching in the way the game is played, so much less post-up play, and so many more three-pointers and more transition, blah, blah, blah. Get it. Okay, cool. Again, things are going to change, and that's just what's going to happen. But when I talk to people who grew up watching this generation of the NBA, or even some who didn't, and I tell them, you know, this generation is not as good as the previous, they tell me, what, you know, this is the best generation of the NBA ever, and these guys are more skilled than anyone before them ever, blah, blah, blah. And we've had the skill talking. I haven't really done a full show breakdown on that, but just a quick thought on it. People talk about how much more skilled the players are today, and I totally disagree. I believe that the league and the rules have allowed them to do things they would never be able to get away with before, and the style of play allows them to do things that they wouldn't be able to get away with before. More spread floors, shooting more threes, and basically doing away with the post game. So, you know, you're trading some skills for another, and of course, they're talking about how much better the ball handlers are today, except, of course, for the fact that we know ball handlers are allowed to travel and carry much more than ever before. But it is what it is. So what I get told a lot is, oh, Bruce, you a hater. Oh, you just an old head hater, right? That's what I hear. And okay, cool. Now, that may be the case. Maybe not. I don't think it's the case, but a lot of people feel that way, and that's cool. Definitely entitled to your opinion. But the fact is this, last night was the All-Star game, and for the first time ever, we had a team crack 200 points. I think it was 397 points total. So almost 400 points scored in an All-Star game. Now, we know that All-Star games typically are not played like playoff games in the old Eastern Conference. They're not locked down. They're not ultra physical, but these are supposed to be all the best players in the world, and it's supposed to be more competitive than this. So we had a final score of 211 to 86. Now, to put that in context, they had to cover the scoreboard last night or turn it off, whichever one it was. Why? Because there's no two, because an NBA game has never gotten into the 200 points. So they did not anticipate that would need to happen. And I'm sure a lot of viewers are saying, so that's just good. That shows how good they are. No, it doesn't. It does not. What it shows is how little they care about the product they're putting out there, how little the league cares about the product it puts out there, because it has allowed this, right, by changing all the rules, right? Free flowing offense, and transition, and more possessions, and more shots up, and more offense. Got it. Okay. All that is good for the casual fan, but it's not necessarily good for the game. More competition means a higher product, right? It means a higher level product. But I digress. I'll get to that later. But so here's the thing, right? It's not just me. If you actually watched, and I was surprised at this, the vast majority of the sports shows that you saw on TV today and on or listened to on the radio, etc., they were all saying pretty much the same thing. It was an embarrassment. It was a disgrace. I mean, I don't understand how these 211 points. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the East had like 104 in the first half. I mean, that's just terrible. What do I always talk about the modern NBA? It's a glorified 3-point shooting contest in most games. Why? Because the analytics tell you that threes and dunks are the way, right? The more threes you shoot, then you have a better chance of winning because threes are worth more than twos and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And I get it. I value the three. I've always loved shooters. I think it's a great skill set. However, if you look at the box score from last night, you will see the Western Conference All-Stars shot 71 three-pointers. 71 three-pointers in one game. They didn't make 71. They shot 71. They made 25. So that's 35%. Okay, cool. Now, if you look at the East, who won handily, they shot 97 of 146 field goal attempts were threes. 97 three-point attempts. That's terrible, man. I don't care how you shake it or how you slice it or how you try to explain it away. 97 three-point attempts. All it was a 3-point shooting contest. And of course, on the other end, there was dunks and layups. I mean, come on, let's be real here. Dame Lillard, who ended up being the All-Star Game MVP, 39 points for the East. He shot he made 11 three-pointers on 23 attempts. Now, a lot of those were crazy because, we like to call him Logo Lillard. There was a couple that he literally pulled up from half court and drained them. And he wasn't just throwing them up there. He was shooting them like real jump shots. So that's crazy. Tyrese Halliburton had, I believe, his first 5 shots of the game. He made threes. And he ended up being 10 and 14 from 3 for the game. I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with shooting. Love shooting. Great skill. But 97 three-point attempts, it's absolutely absurd. And just the lack of defense, the lack of competition, the lack of effort overall in this game. How can it used to mean something to be considered an all-star, to be voted an all-star or chosen to be an all-star. And even back in the day, you would see the games and you would see the guys do some amazing things, but they would still play hard and try to win. It's like this out here, it almost seems like they don't even care. Like they want the trappings of being an all-star without putting forth all-star effort. I was listening to what's the name of the show? Unsportsmanlike with Chris Canty, Evan, and Michelle Smallman this morning, and they actually talked about it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna listen to this, and then I'm gonna have some comments about it as it goes on. So let's listen to what they had to say, and then we'll talk about it.
The LeBron James era of the NBA is the friendship era of the NBA. It's okay, but there's going to be residual effects of the friendship era. When everyone is going to be friends, they're not going to try to rip each other's heads off like Magic and Bird, who became friends after the fact, but when they were playing, wanted to destroy each other. LeBron James in the pregame is sitting there in the locker room dapping up what is supposed to be his biggest rival in Steph Curry, and now he wants to play with the guy, allegedly, although they're going to deny it now. This is the LeBron James era of the NBA, okay? This is the LeBron James era of the NBA that the last 20 years have been the friendship era.
So let's think about this for a second, right? Now, because some people are going to say, well, back in the day, Magic and Isaiah used to kiss each other on the cheek before they played. Yeah, absolutely. Those guys were tight. When Magic got his mansion in LA, he actually had a room, like one of the smaller wings, and that was there for Isaiah. And he and Isaiah always used to hang out in the summer. Isaiah used to come out and chill with him, and he spent a lot of time there. But the fact is this: them dudes will tell you when it's tip-off time and we out there on the floor, I'm trying to win, and I'm gonna do everything I can to win. And so all that friendship stuff goes out the window for the next 48 minutes or for that individual game or, for the 7 games of that series or however long the series may go. The friendship stuff goes out the window. Magic and Isaiah were super tight, but Isaiah will tell you that once the bad boys got over the top and beat them, the nature of that friendship changed. It wasn't the same anymore. So yeah, let's hear what else they had to say.
Who can I socialize with? Who can I team up with? That is okay. I'm not suggesting that is wrong, but what I am suggesting is there's going to be residual effects of that. And moments like last night, where people don't want to take each other's heads off is part of that, guys.
Well, hold on. We got to tone it down on the hyperbole just a little bit because LeBron James did not want to join the Golden State Warriors. He's the one that nixed it. The Lakers gave the Golden State Warriors brass the permission to talk to LeBron, Rich Paul, and Clutch Sports. And they were like, yeah, we're not interested in the trade to Golden State. So there's that part of it. But here's the other thing. We live in a culture around sports now that's predicated on our best athletes competing for championships. Mm-hmm. And if they don't win a title, then we knock them down a peg.
So, all right. So here's the first thing. Okay, kudos. LeBron didn't take the coward way. Okay, great. I mean, it would have been absurd, absolutely absurd if he would have agreed to try to get traded to Golden State. So he did what he shouldn't have done in the first place. What we're giving people credit for doing what they should and should not do. Like, come on. It's pretty simple here. Next up. Chris Canty talks about how these guys are in a position, you can't have it both ways because we as a sports media, we as sports fans have placed a premium on winning championships. Well, of course we placed a premium on winning championships. What else are you there for?
Play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
Thank you, Herm. Appreciate that. So anyway, that being said, we know what we're there for. And I've talked about it before. I've talked about it on other shows. When you're an all-time great or you've had an all-time great career, what are the separators? Championships in terms of winning, and then how you got them. Realistically, before it was much less how you got them, but now in this LeBron James player empowerment, team up, super team type era, that's when how you got them starts coming in. But let's listen further to what Canty had to say.
So athletes, in response to that, are deciding that they're going to team up with other players in other places where they feel like the organization can put infrastructure around them where they can compete at the highest levels of the sport. We can't praise guys for winning titles and then knock them for wanting to put themselves in the best position in order to do so. We can't have it both ways.
Why can't we have it both ways? In life, every coin has two sides. Why can't you? I really don't understand that. You absolutely can, because like I just said, it's not just about winning championships. Okay, you put yourself in the best position to win, but greasing the skids to make it easier, right? To make the climb up the hill easier, or however you want to, describe that, making it easier by trying to team up and take the competition away from the opposition. That's not the same thing as fighting and fighting and fighting and climbing the mountain and eventually being successful. It's just not. And I don't care what anyone says, as great as Kevin Durant is, had he eventually scaled the mountain and beaten Golden State and won a championship, that would have been very different than joining them and winning 2 championships, even though he was the nuclear weapon on that team. It's not the same. And anyone who says it is, they know better than that.
And if you're LeBron James, looking at how this thing started with you being drafted to the Cavs and then seeing what was around you and deciding to defect to Miami to play for Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, can you really hold that against him?
Absolutely.
He put himself in a much better basketball situation with a much more competent, functional organization.
It's not just that he put himself in a better basketball situation with a much more competent and functional organization. That's not it. When you frame it that way, Chris Canty, you're being disingenuous. And the reason why is, like I said, it's not just like, okay, he says, I'm going to go to Miami as a free agent. It's me and D Wade. We're going to make this work. It's that he tried to load up. Because remember, originally, it was supposed to be Melo, LeBron, and D Wade. But Melo, he took his extension in New York. He got his money. And so then they grabbed Chris Bosh, who was another All-NBA guy. So it's not like, and eventually a Hall of Famer. So it's not like, you're saying, okay, I'm going to just go here as a free agent and we're going to make it work with what we got. No, it's that you deliberately try to load up and try to do everything you could do to make it easier. That is not the same thing.
I can't knock athletes for wanting to use their power, use their leverage, use their importance to winning in order to put themselves in the best position in order to enhance their legacy.
I get it. You're seeing this from an athlete's perspective, and I totally get it. And to some extent, it makes sense that you don't want to knock them for doing that. But again, if you're cheating the game and cheating the system to do it, not literally cheating because there was nothing against the rules in doing that, but you know what I mean when I say cheating. I mean doing everything you can to make it easier. I don't respect it, and all championships are simply not built the same way. Let's continue.
That's what it is now, and that's how we made it. Not them, the fans, the media made it this way.
So, yeah, I've talked about it on a previous show. The media absolutely played a huge role in enhancing the amount that championships weigh in terms of comparing a player's all-time greatness. But again, when you look at a guy like LeBron, who's had an all-time great career, of course championships have to come into play. Why? Because as I said earlier, there must be separators. There have to be. If championships aren't the separator among the all-time greats, then what are?
Not LeBron James.
Yeah, it's a residual effect, right? When we're saying your career success is predicated on whether or not you win a ring or how many rings you win, why would you want to put something in the equation that could be a detriment to that? Why would you want to go out there and potentially risk injury for a game that ultimately is meaningless when you're trying to preserve your body?
So, Michelle Smallman, I get what you're saying. However, here's my question, and I've talked about this before, time and time again. There is no question, the NBA knows this, the average fan knows this, the game was way more physical in the past. We can just take it back to 1995. I'm just picking a number. The game was way more physical back then. You were more likely to get injured back then because the game was more physical. Pretty simple, right? But those guys still managed to play hard. They still put their bodies on the line and still went out there and competed and tried to win championships. Why is it that we always try to make some sort of excuse for the lack of competitive fire that we see in not all, but many of today's athletes? Why do we always have to make an excuse? Just tell it how it is.
To make sure that you're good down the stretch so that you can compete for a championship. I understand their point here.
So, I mean, there was just so much there. And, you know, I talked about it. You look at a guy like Larry Bird. Now, everybody's different and everybody's pain threshold is different. But this guy, I read When the Game Was Ours. I read Bird Watching. I listened to a few different books about him and about Magic and about Isaiah. And later on in his career, this is after his championship peak, but still, matter of fact, I think he injured his back in '85 and he was going on from there. But the point is, this is a guy that literally was in traction before games and he was still playing at a high level, So I don't understand, for, again, an era which is supposed to have the better athletes and the better sports medicine and the better sports science and the better nutrition and all this and all that, right? They're so far ahead of the guys that came before them, but I don't know, they lack the durability. I just don't understand it. But it's almost like I got off on a tangent here. I probably did. But the point is, for all of this, the original question is, how did the All-Star game get this bad? Just the total lack of intensity, the total lack of competitive fire. Just like, why do you even name coaches to the All-Star game, right? Because you know what it's going to be. You know what it's going to be. It's going to be a layup line. It's going to be a dunk contest. And of course, it's going to be a three-point shootout. And Dame Lillard, hey, listen, credit to you, Logo Lillard. I'm sure that the further and further you pull up, you excite the fans more and more. And I get it. All that's cool. But just shooting 23 threes in one game, shooting 97 three-pointers as a team, that's just absurd. That's not basketball. And Stephen A. Smith actually made a great point on First Take this morning. And he was saying that it's not so much that you're shooting threes and it's not so much that guys are not playing hard, but you're seeing guys, and no one expects that they should play at the same level as, the playoffs or even a high level regular season game. But you're seeing guys literally, because you get footage of it, who play harder in the Drew League or play harder in UCLA pickup runs in the summertime than they do in the All-Star game. That is terrible. Karl Anthony Towns for the Western Conference All-Stars led the whole game, 50 points. He scored 50 points off the bench. He scored 31 points in the fourth quarter alone. Come on, man. Come on. Y'all not trying at all? Come on. It's disgraceful. I mean, at this point, you just got to say, where is your pride? Get some pride, guys. Get some pride. All right. What I want to know from y'all, I know this was kind of a long one, but do you think this was the worst All-Star game you've ever seen? do you still believe, if you ever believe, that today's players are more skilled than ever, and this is a much better game than any game we've seen in the past in terms of the level of play in the modern day NBA? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to get back to you. Make sure that you're liking, you're subscribing, and you're sharing, and you also check that community post and let me know Saturday or Sunday when is the best day for us to go ahead and do this live call-in show. Can't wait to hear from you, and I'll be back with you next episode. I'm out. Peace.